when you talked about how you got the man, this y'all. I mean, listen, that's your wife, man.
I understand that.
So you, I mean,
I understand that.
and then, you know, once you start that, man, you can just ad lib, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
let me just talk and let's see what happens. I mean,
exactly. See,
I
don't think you need a lot of prep.
I just want to make sure I was meeting your requirements.
Yeah.
You know, I can talk my ass
Good.
off. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not gonna give it all that though. You know.
James, how you looking? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Ready? And
So, I remember the first time I saw Adele Johnson. I looked twice. I almost broke my neck checking her out. And you know, I didn't think much more about it that day. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing her more and more. And then eventually, our paths began to cross, and I got to watch her in action as the president of the Virginia Council. And you know, I became very interested. I used to buy a table and sponsor at everything they had, just so I could sit up front, because she was on the dais. And I would stand in line when the program was over to be acknowledged, you know, as people were coming off the dais. And I'd stand there patiently, and she would see me and turn and walk the other way. And this kind of thing, man, went on like forever. And I found out that she was not shy about the fact she just didn't like me. She thought I was arrogant, and she felt that things were coming my way that I shouldn't have. Well, this went on forever. I mean, close to a year and a half, I guess. And then we were at a national conference once, and I was dancing with one of my clients. And when I got off the dance floor, something behind me said, "Wow, I sure would like to have some of that." And I turned around, and it was the lovely Miss Johnson. So I said, "Let's dance." And we danced. And then it was time to go back to the bus. And I just asked her, you know, so what are you going to do now? She says, "I don't know. Why don't you make me an offer?" Long story short, and without the details that, you know, would make this a movie, I'll just say that Miss Johnson and her staff and myself and my staff, we all went out on the town the rest of that evening. And that was the first dance we had, and we've been dancing ever since. It's been a really cool ride. We were very different people. In fact, Lisa couldn't believe she was going out with me, you know. But as it turned out, what we found was strength in our differences. We were able to have our differences come together so that 1 + 1 could equal 3. I do a lot of work, as some of you know, in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we talk about leveraging differences. And I tell the story about differences you can see and things you can't see. Well, you could see that my wife was elegant. You could see that my wife was beautiful. What you couldn't see about her was she doesn't know where any grocery store is because she hates to go to the grocery store. You know, I was the cook in the family, and she comes from a family where her father was the chef. But that was fine because I was cooking, but she could really make a table sing. And we used to do a lot of entertaining, especially before the pandemic. And she would just put that extra special touch. And we got to where when we would have parties, one of the things that we liked the most was coming up with a signature drink. You know, it's just really hard to try to have all and any of the alcohol that people would want. So we would have a signature drink that everyone would have when you come in to the room. And then after that, we'd have a nice selection of beer and wine. And that seemed to serve us well. I will tell you that we had our own spaces, and in the home that we have now was really cool because there was floors between us. But I would tell you, even as she got sick, what I remember most is I used to relish being able to join her at the end of the evening, even when she was sick, just in her presence. And so I think in that way, our love really grew. because we started way apart and we were really different. And I think each of us put energy into the relationship that allowed us to grow. And as a result, I think that it has been really great for us. Each of us brought a child to the relationship. Each child had a spouse. And between the four of them, they had 5 kids, and they were the joy of our life. They are the joy of my life. And so that made it special too, because, you know, I now have Lisa and her family, and she has Eric and his family. And so, you know, those things made us that much special too. And then it just seemed like wherever we would go, you know, somebody knew one of the two of us. But for whatever reason, she seemed to be treated as the sane one, I guess because she was so regal and so elegant, you know. She may have been regal and elegant, but she loved to have a good time, you know. We did some great traveling. One of our favorite things to do, since I am a foodie, and it shows, but one of the greatest things we used to do was go and eat at restaurants that we'd never heard of. And when we would eat in town, our favorite thing to do would be to eat at the bar. And we would eat at the bar because we could be more intimate with one another, and you got better service right there, you know, especially once they got to know you. And there wasn't a restaurant that we would go in that we weren't known. So the pandemic took that from us. And now I simply have to rely on the memories. And probably the last meal I remember us having out was at our favorite ever restaurant in life in Richmond, which was Acacia. And we actually had reservations on the last night that Acacia was open. So that'll always be a memory for me. And I'll tell you one more thing before I shut up. I remember the day before she went on to be with the Lord, she told me she was ready to go. And so I took her hand and I said, let's talk about it. And we talked about it. And she just says, it's too much. And I said, yeah, it's tough, baby. I said, but I got one last thing to ask you. She said, what is that? I said, please, when I get up to the pearly gates to join you, you got to do me a favor. And she said, well, what is that? I said, please don't treat me like you did down here on earth and have me chase you around for a year and a half before you go out with me. And she smiled and gave me a kiss. And that's a memory I'll always have. So that's me. When we decided to get married, we decided that our mission was going to be whatever we needed to be to our children so that their children would grow up to be the best that they could be. And that's what we saw as our role as grandparents, you know, to give our grandchildren's parents whatever it was they needed in order for the kids to grow and prosper. Yeah. So it was, and each of them is very different. Very different.
So let me ask this question. What is the thing that you will remember most about her?
Well, I think that it is the juxtaposition of our personalities. If you use a metaphor of music and a beat, I would be dancing something really fast, but her dance beats would be a lot slower. And sometimes it was just agonizing for me to wait for her to speak. And I was always accused of interrupting her because I'm going like this, and she's like this. And that also came back to haunt me in other ways because I might do something, guys, you know about that, you know, I might do something that deserved the attention of your wife, and not in a good way. And you know, we know when we do something like that. And so we would be at an event or whatever, and I guess I would do this thing, whatever it might be, that rubbed her the wrong way. And we would leave there, maybe we'd go have a drink afterwards, we come home, we undress, ride home, on the way home, don't hear anything about it. So I'm thinking, yes, I'm in the clear. No sooner than we turn the light off, put my head down, ready to go to sleep, here she comes. Sweetheart, now you know, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, you know, so man, you never know. You think you had gotten away with it, or that she forgotten about it, but she would always come back, and she just would hit you with it. And sometimes it'd be days later, and she was an expert at that. She was an expert at just really putting you in your place. Me, anyway. You know, we're probably making a lot of noise about it. So, man, I just think about that smile that lit me up, man. I mean, just pictures coming from everywhere these days. And, you know, honestly, you know, those of us who are the closest to her, we know for the last 2 or 3 years, she was challenged, you know. And it's just really nice to once again be reminded of, you know, how she did hold her head high, you know, through her struggle. And she kept joy in our lives. We had as a test, you know, during the last days, you know, that it didn't matter if we spoke a lot, but what we wanted was to be able to smile together or laugh together every day. And that would be a test of whether or not it was a good day. And up until the very end, we did smile and laugh. So I just see those pictures and think about those times when in her last days we shared a smile.